So, welcome to the Coach Ed Show. So glad that you could join us, whether you're joining us in video or if you're driving down the road or running on the treadmill or whatever you're doing. So glad that you could join us for the Coach Ed Show. I'm really excited about today. We have a very special guest with us. Who is he? He is a courageous, driven. He is caring. He is a leader, and that's who I have with me today. He is a former member of UAH men's soccer program. He is about to be a graduate at UAH in 3 days, something
Yes.
like that. And he is a season builder alumni, and he is just an incredible young man from Cyprus. So let's welcome Andreas Tsimon to the podcast. So, Andreas, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Taylor. First of all, thank you for your kind words as well. And thank you for hosting me in this wonderful podcast, which I think most of people can gain a good of experience and a good of taste of the power of a mentor, of course, and
Yeah.
how you help my life as well. So yes, I'm excited.
Well, good. Well, let's just dive straight into that then. Because you and I connected in January of 2023, so about a year and a half ago.
Yes.
And let's just say that you had been. How long had you been in the United States at that point?
So I came to the United States August 2020. So it was still
Okay.
COVID. It was still COVID season. Yes.
Yeah. So a good 2.5 years. Well, that I don't like to do math in public, but it was about that way. So you were here. Obviously, you have wonderful parents back in Cyprus. Raised you. You made a very courageous decision and a bold decision to come halfway around the world and get an education and play soccer here in America. So I mean, you haven't been eaten by a lion. You are,
Definitely.
you're able to make some decisions on your own. But we met in January of 23. So maybe describe a little bit how your life was going at that point, a little bit before we met, and then we'll switch it to after.
Yes. First of all, I have to say that since the age of 17, it was actually my biggest dream and my goal to come here to the States.
Okay.
So I can combine basically athletics with academics.
Yeah.
For instance, it was soccer for me.
Hmm.
So that was my primary goal,
Yeah.
to come here in the States, get a good scholarship, play soccer, get my degree, live life in the US, get some new experiences. And I have to say that my parents were always very supportive
Yeah.
for me. They knew that that's what I wanted to do with my life, and they strongly supported me so I could achieve that dream. So when the dream became reality, basically in August 2020, something didn't feel exactly right because I was in shock. I was in a completely different culture. Everything was so big. Cyprus is such a tiny island.
Yeah.
Everything's just small. Everyone knows everyone too.
Mm.
So basically, I was thrown into a life where, okay, right now, no one knows me. I don't know anyone.
Right.
It's basically a fresh start. Everything is new. And in the beginning, it can be challenging. It can be
Yes.
very challenging in the beginning, especially when you're also an international. English language is your second language,
Yeah.
not your first language. You're trying to make friends. But of course, because I was part of a team, it was way easier for me to actually connect with people and come closer to people and have better relationships here.
Hmm.
So I would describe my first 2 or 2.5 years before we've met, before coming across Season Builder, that I believe I was going with the flow. So I was just kind of living the US college student athlete life, I guess. So I wasn't really focused.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
wasn't really doing anything on purpose.
Hmm.
I was just going day by day, week by week, semester by semester, with no real motivation. I was just playing soccer, doing good at school, but other than that, I had no plans about my future. I was kind of lost, I can say,
Yeah.
and I needed a guidance or someone to actually help me. So when I came across the opportunity to actually text you or show my interest in
Yeah.
entering the season builder program, that was actually when I I had a discussion with myself, and I knew that okay, now I want to change. I think I'm ready for a change. I'm done living the college life, like going out drinking, basically wasting my time, and just going with the flow. I wanted to go somewhere on purpose, and that's why I reached out to you.
Yeah.
And you actually reached out back to me because in the beginning I was a little bit hesitant
Yeah, right,
to
right.
meet with you, but
Yeah.
you gave me that little push, that extra message, that extra phone call. Hey, let's meet at the CU and let's just talk.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, you said so many things right there. You know, just going through the motion. One of our mutual friends, Nick York, another
Yes.
season builder alumni. He was a roommate of yours, I believe. He said something to me one day that I thought he was describing his situation, and he said that he was just following the path of least resistance. He was just following the path of least resistance. So it's just easy just to follow in, do what everybody else is doing. Don't ruffle feathers. Don't get outside the margins. Just react basically to
And it's
every
so
day.
easy to get caught up with that, to be
Yeah.
fair, especially in college.
Okay. Yeah. So that's great. So we met in January 2023. You got the nudge. We started sitting down. I'm curious if you can put yourself back in there. What did you think it was going to be like? What what were your preconceived notions?
Okay, honestly, I didn't have a clear picture in my head or okay, where is this gonna take me?
Yeah.
Or where is this gonna go?
Yeah.
But I believe as a person, I usually dive into kind of these experiences. Okay, I might not know 100% where this road gonna lead me, but I'm just gonna try. I'm gonna
Yeah.
try because when you came and you had the presentation in the media room, the UH men's soccer
Right.
team, I was like, okay, this man actually focuses on work outside the pitch, not in the pitch. I'm already doing my work in the pitch. I'm already having fun with that and every day practicing, going to the gym. But what about outside the pitch? Maybe that's where I need a little bit of help. So that's what basically triggered my mind to just reach out to your show, my interest in entering the season builder program.
I think one thing you said too just a moment ago, you said you had a conversation with yourself.
Yes.
We all need to have those conversations with ourselves. Can you even remember, or maybe if you, obviously you may not remember the exact conversation you had, what did that sound like? Let us in and see if there may be some people watching or listening that you may describe the exact same thing that may be going through their mind
Yes. So I basically started with questions, like questioning myself. I'm like, okay, am I living the life that I actually want to live? Am I heading the way that I actually want to be heading at? So by just asking these simple questions, and first of all, you have to be honest with yourself and give
Yes.
honest answers as well. When you're talking to yourself, you gotta make sure you're not lying to yourself.
That's right. It's easy to do.
Yes, that's the first step. So first, I had to hold myself accountable and make sure that okay, that's that's what I want. That's what I'm struggling at the moment. That's what I'm not at the moment. I'm not in the way that I should be going at, let's say, as a student athlete, or I'm not following the path that is actually gonna make me to the better version of myself.
Yeah.
So I was actually seeking help, although I didn't know. I didn't know I wanted help, but I actually needed help to find a way to fulfill, say, the best version of myself. And
Right.
I'm still working that way.
Yeah.
It's not easy to just be the best version of yourself. There's always room for improvement.
Right.
But I just knew after questioning or after making a few questions to myself that okay, I might need some help with that because that's something that I never worked at in my life.
Yeah, off the pitch.
Off the
Really
pitch.
consider
Yes.
like, wow, as much work as I do on the pitch, in the weight room, on the pitch, in your drills, and all of the things that involve soccer, to think that maybe the things off the pitch
Yes.
yeah, that I've maybe been ignoring. Yeah, that's interesting. Had you had that conversation before? It's just interesting. You say you got to be honest with yourself, which we know is critical. Have you ever had you had that conversation, or had you asked yourself those questions before and maybe lied to yourself?
Yes, first I would say that a lot of times I would just avoid those conversations with
Okay, just
myself.
avoid them
Just
altogether.
avoid them.
Yeah.
But whenever I would probably like just ask a few questions myself and I wasn't truth to that, I wasn't aware that I was lying to myself. I thought I was actually telling the truth. But in the reality, I was basically lying to myself
Yeah.
just to make me feel okay, and basically finding excuses so I
Yeah.
can cover the truth.
Wow, that's so good.
But I think you just reach a point where you just had enough, right?
Yeah.
I did the college life. I went out with my friends. I wasted so much time, which I do not regret, because if I didn't, I wouldn't start overthinking and questioning, okay, where do I really want to go in my life? But I think after a while, you just know you had enough and it's time for you for a change.
Yeah, man, that's great. If we just stop right there, I think there's so many young people, young athletes that are just nodding their head right now, going, "Yeah, that was me," or "that is me." So that's really good. Okay, so let's shift gears and let's talk about. Okay, we started meeting and we had our initial conversation, and so maybe tell me about that, kind of how you felt after our initial conversation, and then just as we journeyed together on your personal growth, kind of how what your thoughts were and how you started seeing change in your
hmm So obviously, our first few meetings was, or our first 1 or 2 meetings was just talking about me. So the whole time we're just talking about me. Obviously, you introduce yourself, you tell me your story of how you started season with that as well. It was basically like having a healthy relationship, I would say. You just kind of
life.
like introduce yourself, you talk about you, I talk about mine. You ask me how is back home, what is my culture like, and especially for international students, that's something that they don't really find here in the US, or they might be struggling with that, just people trying to understand them. I
Mm,
don't think it's easy for people to understand internationals that are coming from different cultures, that are coming from the other side of the world, basically.
yeah,
So when I saw effort from you trying to understand my situation, trying to understand where I'm coming from, trying to understand where I'm standing right now in this season of my life, I was like, man, this guy Taylor is great. I want to talk to him again. So then we had a few more meetings. You asked me if I'm interested in starting this season builder program, and I said yes right away, because I was like, okay, now I'm really curious to see where this is going to take me. So it's funny because we started with the box top, which is basically the person that I want to become in the next season of my life.
right.
And my box top was something that I would never think of 2 or 3 years ago. But I came up with the box top of being an effective communicator who is
Yes.
confident in his ability to connect with others.
Yep.
I'm not going to lie to you, it scared me a little bit in the beginning, because I was like, okay, I have the ability to be this guy. I don't know if I have this confidence to be an effective communicator and
Yeah.
connect with others.
Yeah.
But just through going through the action plans and going week every week, implementing new action plans, those were actually, they were uncomfortable for me.
Yeah.
But I could understand that, okay, it's making something to me, it's growing me
Mhm.
into a person that I was not before. So that was very helpful and very beneficial for my situation.
Yeah. 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 This conversation is just already, it's just so many things are going through my mind. It's amazing. I think one thing that stands out a little bit is maybe just a leadership lesson for other leaders out there when it comes to uh, getting to know international students, really building relationships, is how important it is to really understand them first.
hmm
Really get to know them, ask them, make them feel interested. That's kind of just a separate leadership lesson, I think, and relationship building lesson, trust building, because that's what it was. Well, it was trust building.
Right.
Yeah, the irony is not lost on me that your box top involved being an effective communicator, and here we are sitting together on a podcast. Did you ever think that a year and a half from now that you'd be able to sit confidently and have a discussion and communicate as well as you
Not even in my craziest dreams. But yes, basically, it kind of like helped me get out of my timidness, shyness, I would
did?
say. Although I was always a confident guy, I used, I'm just shy. I don't think I'm an extrovert. I think I'm an introvert.
Yeah. Okay.
As soon as we ended up the season builder program, I was like, I don't even care about introverts or extroverts. I'm just confident I can connect with people. So it's not
Yeah.
about being an introvert or an extrovert no more. It's about just having that confidence, having that ability to just go and connect with people.
Yes. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. But ultimately is what I would say is just to be yourself. Don't put a label on yourself. Just go be yourself. And sometimes you need to grow into yourself, right? Because this is who you really are now, but that's not how you were acting before because of shyness and timidity. What I would put under a label of insecurity. We all have them, right? I think that's one thing that Season Builder can really help people do is identify their insecurities and help them overcome them, because then they can become their true and complete selves when they can not let those obstacles of insecurity get in the way. Yeah.
Yes, and again, it's about holding yourself accountable, because if you're not holding yourself accountable and you're continuously lying to yourself or finding excuses to yourself, you're basically not yourself.
Right.
So first, that's something that my mom used to always tell me. First, you have to be the leader of yourself. You want to be a leader for others.
That's right.
So first, you got to focus on developing yourself, growing yourself, becoming the leader of yourself, and then going on to connect with others or having a relationship with others.
Yes. Yes. Man, that is so good. That's so good. So let's switch gears a little bit to that. Let's talk a little bit about leadership. We'll just talk about team leadership. So you played soccer in college, and obviously leadership is very important. Not just the coach. I mean, the locker room leadership, right, is so important. What do you think makes a good locker room leader, or even on the pitch leader? What the leader among your peers? What qualities do you think are super important that you look to, or that you even look to display to be a good leader for your peers?
I think, in my opinion, I see a lot of leaders confused about where to show their leadership skills.
Okay.
Whether it is for coach, I think sometimes they get confused or they get trapped basically into showing that they're leaders in front of a coach instead of in front of the team.
Okay.
So those are two completely different things.
Yeah.
So I think just by gaining respect first from your teammates, understanding that your teammates are trusting you and are actually listening to you. And that cannot be done just by saying words. It actually can come from actions. So if you consistently act in the favor of your teammates, in the favor of your team, for the better of your teammates, and for the better of your team, that's when you build this situation with your teammates, which are basically your brothers.
Yeah.
That okay, he's the father figure of the team. He's not just a brother; he's a father or the bigger
That's
brother.
a good way. That's a good way of saying it.
Yes, and if you get people or teammates or teams to look at you in that perspective, I think it just changes their whole image of you.
Yeah.
Let's say.
Yeah.
So they just know their role, that okay, he's my leader. I'm going to trust him. I'm going to listen to him. I'm going to support him as well. And basically, that's what makes a great leader when it comes to sports.
Right. So let's dig into a little bit of that, because a big word you used started with a T is trust. And I would say that that's the first thing you have to build before you want to step into a leadership role. Is someone can be the captain, right? Someone in soccer, you can wear the band, right? But that doesn't always mean that there's trust. And this is for soccer, baseball, softball, girls, guys. I mean, this is a universal principle for you. And I'm curious to see if your answer is going to be different, maybe than what someone from another country would say, or an American would say, or what have you. But what is one or two things that really build trust for you when you're looking to someone like, can I trust them? What can they do, or what do they do that help build your trust?
First of all, is can I rely on him?
How do you know if you can rely on them?
Just by looking at him outside the field, on the field. Is he setting up the example? Is he doing the right things? Is he consistent?
Yes.
Because in my opinion, to be a captain, you have to be one of the most consistent guys in the team.
Yeah.
If you're just not consistent when it comes to taking care of your body, practicing, focusing on the game, doing jobs that coach might ask you to do on and off the field, you can understand who is consistent enough, who is disciplined enough, because discipline, I think, is a big trait of leadership as well.
Yes.
I don't think you can be a leader if you're not disciplined.
Yeah.
So just by basically showing and setting up an example, people can look up to you. And when people can look up to you, they're more, it's easier for them, let's say, to trust you,
Yeah.
or to relate to you, or to show empathy to you. So I think just by setting up the example is probably the biggest thing when it comes to leadership.
How important is it to you that the leader is the best player on the team skill wise?
It's not important at all for me,
Okay.
in my opinion.
Okay.
Obviously, he has to be a good player.
Right. You'd probably say he probably needs to be a starter.
Yes.
Is that a just to put a benchmark to it? Would you say that?
Yes, usually for teams, especially like in soccer too, they don't only have one captain, or they
Mhm.
have three or four
Right.
captains.
Right.
So even if the first choice captain is on the bench, there is probably another captain in the pitch.
Mm.
But that's the thing. When it comes to leadership, I don't believe there should only be four captains. In my opinion, there should be 30 captains.
Mm.
Everyone has to be a leader, because, as we discussed earlier too, everyone has to be the leader of themselves.
Right.
If everyone is leader of themselves, then you have a team full of soldiers. And when you have a team full of soldiers, you're not scared to go to a battle. You're not really scared
That's
to go to a
good.
war.
Good. Yeah. I totally agree with you. Right. And everybody has their place. There may be the one that picks the team up after 3 losses in a row. Maybe one person needs to be the leader that comes and stands up someone on a tough tackle.
Yes.
And it needs to say maybe somebody needs to communicate with the coach on how the team is going to
Yes.
help to be the liaison between the locker room and the coach's office.
Maybe someone has to communicate with the ref as well. No, I'm just kidding.
Right,
Yes.
and that would
That,
not
that
be
used to be
you.
me. Yeah.
We need somebody to be the leader to grab Simon by the arm and pull him away from the ref. That's the old self. That was the
Yes,
old self,
yes.
which we could probably do a whole other podcast on that one. There, maybe we even talk about it for just a second. There was a there was a time when you had just started season builder that you were playing in some spring games. So for those who you don't know, the college soccer is a fall sport. The primary season is fall. Then you have a few spring games. We're working on patience with
Patience.
you. Anger and a temper were definitely something there. And there was a situation where it didn't go good for you, and then you let your anger get up the best of you, and got double yellow card and got thrown out of the game within 2 minutes. And for those of you that know me, I hope there's a lot of people that listen that don't know anything about me. Um, I love when those things happen. You would think that, oh my gosh, why in the world would you say that? You want him to go through that, because that's the wake up call, right? That's when you find yourself in a hard spot where you've got to make a decision. Are you going to keep doing that, or are you going to change? Are you going to use it to work for you, or are you going to let it? Here's what I like to say: are you going to use it, or is it going to use you? And our anger, if we don't ever deal with it, or our temper, the longer we go with that, it uses us every time. And in this case, it used you to get you back on the bench in 2 minutes.
Yes.
So how can we use the situation and not want it to happen again, but say, you know what, I'm glad that happened because I can use it to learn from. And I think you did. It took a little bit. You're a work in progress, but that was an important uh, game for you. I know for our conversations for sure.
Yes. And to be honest,
Yes.
I have been struggling with that anger issue, let's say, or getting a few yellow cards here and there, a few red cards since very young age.
Yeah.
And I thought it was just me. Oh,
Mm.
that's just how I am. I just get yellow cards, I just get red cards, I just get sent off. I just have anger issues. But that was certainly not me.
Mm.
It was my head, basically.
Yes.
It was my head trying to control me, other than me trying to control my head.
Yes. Yes. That is so true. That is not who you are. It's who you are, unfortunately, unconsciously choosing to be.
Mhm.
And when you can wake up to the fact that says, you know what, that's not serving me. Yeah, maybe I have been sent off. Maybe I have yellow cards. Maybe I do argue with the refs. But is that really serving me? Is that really serving the team? Is it serving me? Is it serving the fans? Like, is that really helping to elevate my life and the lives of those around me? And I think if you could answer that question, everybody's got to answer it for themselves. But I think a lot of times you're going to come to the answer of, you know what? No. And there's a time, right? There's a time to express disagreement, and there's a way to do that too, right?
Mm-hmm.
But not in ways that get you put on the sideline.
And obviously, it's difficult to control those emotions, especially when I play soccer. I do feel passion. I do
Right.
feel emotion. I'm one of these players that when I play, you can understand. Okay, he's playing with emotion right now. He's playing with passion. He's just running for the team. But you have to be able to control those emotions if you want to compete to a higher level as well. So letting your emotions control you, that's something that I hope I knew earlier in my career so I could probably play in a higher level than I did. But just by controlling, you can understand, okay, there's nothing that can stop me basically because I know how to control my weaknesses, which is, for instance, patience.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if I have patience, I can control myself. And if I can control myself, I can control my game too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's very important.
What was a tool that you used to actually start to help you start to control your negative emotions? What I would
Yes.
say.
So one thing that we practiced together, and it was your idea basically of, okay, what about if before those uncomfortable situations happen, or
Yes.
before you get into emotions and going through emotions and just releasing this anger that you have, what if you just visualize beforehand the whole situation? So when the situation comes, you're just ready for it and you know how you should react to it. For instance, for me, it was okay, I get a yellow card. How do I deal with it? Do I go scream at the ref and get a second yellow card and get sent off? Or do I just take a few deep breaths and just let it go, continue playing my game?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, and I remember that. That was the conversation we had after the game that you got sent off.
Yes.
And also it wasn't just in the heat of the game, because there'd be a lot of athletes that identify with what we're about to talk about. You were a junior, I think, on the
Mhm.
team, had really had a strong sophomore year. The very back half of the sophomore year, you were a spark for the team. I mean, you had a good fall coming
Yes.
into the spring, and so I mean, your expectations were, I'm in the 11.
Mhm.
I'm in the starting 11. Like, first game we have, like, there's no question about that.
Yes.
And what was the reality of that?
And the reality was that facing this adversity of, okay, in my mind, I'm the best. I know I'm the best. I should be starting every game. I don't see why I'm not going to start every game. But then finding yourself sitting in the bench in the first game of the next season, while the previous season you just had a very good season scoring goals and helping the team win games. It's just so tough. Mentally it's so tough for players that get stuck into that situation, or okay, this game I'm starting, this game I'm staying the bench,
Yeah.
this game I play 20 minutes, this game I play 0 minutes,
Yeah.
this game I play 90 minutes, and the next game you might be on the bench again. I think players or athletes that get stuck to that situation is so tough mentally because you don't know what to think. You start overthinking. Maybe I'm not that good enough. Maybe it was just luck. The last season I had
Yeah,
that
these
spark.
are real thoughts, right?
Yes,
These are real
these are
thoughts you
real
have.
thoughts. And maybe you can get stuck in the thoughts of, okay, maybe I need to work harder and harder and harder to get to that starting 11. And honestly, your only option is just don't say a word and work harder, because if you lose your work ethic, basically you're gonna stay there. You're gonna stay in
For
that
sure,
bench.
right.
That's one thing for sure.
Yeah.
If you lose your work ethic, you're just gonna stay in that bench. So for me, it was tough when the season started and I wasn't able to get into the starting 11. Unfortunately, I had a few injuries in preseason.
Yeah.
That led me behind in terms of conditioning and fitness. Although I came very prepared for a preseason, I was very excited after coming from a very good last season.
Yeah.
But sitting in the bench the first few games and made me think that, okay, maybe I just have to get myself back in the team somehow. Maybe I have to go and talk to coach, perhaps.
I remember that.
So the old version of myself would just not go and talk to coach and just let it go with the flow, let it go through emotions. Whatever happens, happens. If I don't play this season, I don't play this season.
Right.
Or maybe just quit, leave the team.
Yeah. How many
Because
people do that? Or
it's,
and the new word, transfer portal.
yes. But in my opinion, I was like, there's not really a point for me of quitting the team or just not talking to coach.
Right.
I have been one of the seniors of the team. I thought myself was one of the leaders of the team too. So I think as the man, it would be more respectful to go and talk to coach.
Yep.
And that's something that we talked when I went through season with that as well. Is that sometimes I wanted to talk to coach, but didn't have the courage to go and talk to coach. Maybe I didn't have the confidence to go and talk to coach. Maybe I didn't know exactly what to say to coach.
Right.
But I think at that time in that season, it was easier for me to go and have a conversation with coach, and he was obviously very understanding of my situation. He could understand that yes, you have been one of those players that it's stuck between sitting in the bench and then starting a few games and then sitting in the bench again. Just by you keeping your work ethic as you do, you're just basically setting an example to the younger guys in the team, and that's a great example of leadership. And those were the words of Coach Carrier, of course. Mm-hmm. But having that conversation with him, I could understand. Okay, he respects me as a man.
Yes.
Basically, a game plan decision or a tactic decision to get me out the pitch. And after having that conversation, obviously, he started slowly getting me into the team, starting a few games there and there, and then getting some minutes in the second half, first half, and basically advised me to help the team as much as I can in a way that I can, which he was giving energy. Which told me that your biggest weapon is energy. You give energy to the team whenever you step on the pitch. Yeah. So whenever I decide to bring you on, I just want you to do that. And I just follow strictly whatever my coach advised me to do. And at the end of the season, while I didn't even start most of the games, I was happy with myself. I can't say that I was happy, or I would rephrase, I wasn't happy. I was at peace.
Okay.
I was at peace because I know, okay, I did my best. I had this tough situation. I actually had the courage to go and talk to my coach.
Yep.
We had an effective conversation. Yep. And at the end of the season, whatever happened, happened. And everyone was at peace at the end of the season because the goal was to achieve playoffs. We achieved playoffs. So that was a good season.
Yeah.
No matter if
right. Well, and also you worked on yourself, right?
Yeah,
You kept
definitely.
yourself. So when he sent you in, you weren't doing things to get you sent off.
Yes. Definitely.
and I remember us having those conversations about, okay, if you don't start next Saturday, how are you going to respond? Are you going to sit on the end of the bench and just throw your hood up and wait for coach to call your name? Or are you going to be engaged? Are you going to be that energy on the sideline? Like, you're a man of energy, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, when you come on the pitch, you bring it, but there's an ability to do that. I remember even saying, okay, that's good. What if you come out of halftime and you don't start the second half? All right, let's talk about it. Like that was some very specific work we did together. Or hey, when you get that yellow card, I wish I could say if, but let's say when you get that first yellow card, or when you get a foul called against you that you don't agree with, how are you going to handle the ref? Like, we literally talked through those specific situations that could occur on that coming up. So when a lot of people talk about, well, what's mental training? Like, how do you strengthen your mind? How do I grow my mental game? Like, literally, those were some of the things that you do. That's what we did, and that's what you do.
Yes, and when people think about, okay, what is mental training, they probably think, okay, something very complex, or that there is a magic trick to trigger your mind to have a different perspective, let's say, or think differently to tough situations like those. Honestly, it's just making complex things simple.
Yeah.
So rather than just me screaming to the ref and getting sent off, just me smiling at the ref and giving him a thumbs up. So he automatically thinks, okay, he's cool with my decision. I don't have to show my anger to the ref. Although I was frustrated, he gave me a yellow card. I don't have to show it. I can just smile, give him a thumbs up, and continue playing my game, focusing on my game. So I think when it comes to mental training, it's just by keeping things simple, not overthinking, not overcomplicating things.
Yes. Next play. You hear that in athletics a lot. Next play.
Next play.
Next play.
Yes.
Like, put that one to bed. Next play. And that's just simple, right? But it's so effective.
Correct. It is.
So that's great. This has been so good. I'm so enjoyed you sharing about that. I think there's so many people that can learn from what you just said. Don't just be hearers of the word, but do what it says. Right? There's a book that you and I read that says that. So speaking of that book, one of the things that was a real big transformation in your life, not only on the pitch and just mentally and emotionally, you as a man, but was your faith. Your faith in God. You changed. You really changed, and God came into your life, and And talk about that a little bit, like maybe how you grew up, what your perception of God was, and then through us working together, and then you making some decisions. Like, what is your life like now?
Mhm. So I grew up in Cyprus, which is considered to be a conservative religious island. Let's say
Yeah.
everyone is Greek Orthodox or everyone is strictly Christian back home. But although it has that perception of being such a conservative religious island, I don't think it really is,
Mm.
because I think people tend to, okay, I was baptized Greek Orthodox, so I'm Greek Orthodox, yeah. But do you go to church Sunday? No. Do you pray? No. So you just like to say basically that you're a Christian or you have faith in God. You don't really show it.
Mm.
And I think I was kind of like stuck into that place where, okay, I was telling people, yes, I have faith. I'm a Christian. I'm a Greek Orthodox, and I believe in God.
Yep.
But I never had a communication with him. I never talked to him. He never talked to me. I never talked to him. We didn't
Yeah.
have that close relationship. I didn't really go to church. I tried to go to church a few times with my mother here
Yeah.
and there, or maybe whenever it was Easter or Christmas. But it really changed when I came here and when you just gave me a little push. Okay, maybe try and read the Bible plan. See if you like the things that they say on the Bible.
Mhm.
And when I kept reading the Bible, I was like, this thing is just making me think differently. First of all, it's making me think positively.
Yep. Right. Hopefully,
Hopefully, that's the
a
correct word.
lot of
Yes,
hope.
yes. So I think hope is what most of people are missing.
Yeah.
Because when you're hopeless, you just dive into negative thinking, dive into negative thoughts, diving into a persona that maybe you don't even agree being that person, but you're just that person because of your thoughts.
Yep.
And I think having faith, it enabled me to control my thoughts,
Ooh.
because everyone has the ability to control their thoughts. They just basically weak to do it, let's
Mhm.
say mentally.
Yeah.
That's why they need some mental strength training. Also, uh, God can also help you control those thoughts.
Yes.
So when you control your thoughts and when you implement positive thinking as well, I think it directly correlates to faith. And that's something that actually turned my perspective upside down. Faith was the catalyst of my perspective now, I would say.
Yeah.
Just trying to look at the positive side of every single situation you're in.
That's interesting to hear you describe it that way, because I'm a big positive thinking, like I'm a positive guy, but I really like how you just said, and we were talking about hope, that maybe it's not just about positive thinking. Maybe it's hopeful thinking. Maybe it's the hope that God gives us, that you don't have to be a positive thinker. You're a hopeful thinker. And they're very similar, but it's the source by which you're gaining that positivity, right? Or the hope.
Exactly. And I think if you seek for that hopeful thinking as you just described, it's just more peaceful rather than thinking of things that they're just gonna make you happy basically. So let's say college students, they often trapped into that perception of, okay, if I go out Saturday night with my friends or my teammates or whatever and drink, I'm gonna be happy. I'm gonna be
Yeah.
happy, and then next week I'm gonna do the same thing because I'm gonna be happy again. It gives them happiness, but it don't really give them peace. That's what
Right.
I understood.
Yeah.
Or in my case or in my situation, it was the exact same thing where, okay, I was happy Saturday night because I was out having a good time with my friends, drinking or whatever. But then after a long time, you're like, man, but what if I don't drink? I'm just not gonna be happy. But if I
Mm.
don't go out with my friends, I'm just not gonna be happy. And that's when you understand that you're not in peace. You're not at peace.
Yeah.
So instead of seeking happiness, I started seeking peace, and
Mm.
I was seeking peace through my faith. So that's what helped me a lot in the
Yeah.
recent months.
Yeah. And we started going to church together, which, so tell them your experience, the first day your experience with church. You and I went to the church that I attend, Church of the Highlands.
Yes, it was a great experience, first of all, because I was in a complete shock. I'm used to churches being completely silent. everyone is silent, no one is moving, everyone is just looking forward. Pastor, listening to the psalms of the pastor, and then just go home.
Yeah.
I'll say a word. And then I just walk into the church where the whole environment was just welcoming, it was warm. Everyone was telling me, "Good morning, how are you, sir, today?" I could grab my little coffee and then walk inside the auditorium and sit down and actually see people singing and praising God the way they did. It was just uplifting for me.
Yeah.
And then actually having a pastor that is so good at delivering a message and not just psalming and just basically going through his
Reading
way,
words.
reading words. He was actually, the pastor at the church that we went to was actually trying to deliver as best as possible a message that people could process and implement that to their life.
Right.
So for me, that was very important. Very important.
And very different, it
And
sounds
very,
like.
yes, of course. I was like, oh my God, is that really a church? Am I at the church right now? But yes, that was definitely, it was day and night from the church that I'm used to of going back home with the church I'm going here, day and night.
And that was inspiring for you. And that was something you said, you know what, I want more of that.
Yes. And since then, I rarely miss a Sunday.
Yeah.
I'm actually joking around with my roommates. We were talking about this the last week, and we're talking, what's your favorite day of the week? That was the question that we had, and everyone was saying, you know what, mine is Friday, mine is Saturday. I was like, guys, mine is Sunday.
Yeah.
It's the only day that I get to go praise God, have a good time, dive into positive thinking, have a good lunch with my friends, with my church friends,
Yeah.
and then plan out my next week. What am I doing the next week? So for me, it's just my most productive, or let's say my most relaxing day is Sunday.
Sounds like your most peaceful day.
Peaceful day, exactly.
That's our word. Yeah, man. That is that's so good. Let's go back. Let's go back to the beginning. And I forgot to ask this question. Just about go back home to Cyprus. And we were talking about mentorship. How, I don't know if the right word's popular or how prevalent or how much does this type of older man, younger man mentorship, does that happen much in Cyprus? And if it doesn't, why do you think are some of the reasons that you just don't have a lot of these types of relationships?
I am I'm positive that it's not happening at all back
Okay.
home.
Okay.
I don't see this at all. It's not something that ever came across my eyes. I would say back home of having an actual mentor or an actual life coach, let's say, that can
Yeah.
help you grow into the next stage of your life.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it needs to be happen, but I think because people in Cyprus think a little bit different when it comes to culture as well.
Yeah.
They just want to show that persona that I don't need help.
I'm strong.
I'm
I
strong.
got it.
Yes, I'm mentally strong. I'm physically strong, so I don't need help from anyone.
Yeah.
So I think they have this perspective of, okay, I'm gonna show them I'm strong. I might not be strong, but I'm gonna show it.
Yeah.
So they're basically hiding inside themselves just because they know they want to grow, but they're not doing it just because of others will probably judge them or they will probably make fun of them.
Okay.
And you have to also think about the fact that Cyprus is such a small island. Everyone knows everyone. So maybe someone is just shy or timid enough that, okay,
Right.
maybe if I do this mentorship program or this life coaching program, people are going to make fun of me.
Right. It's a big social risk.
People probably going to think that I'm weak.
Yeah.
Although the way I see right now, after completing the season builder program, of course, it was better for me that I was in the US too. You're actually not weak. You're actually stronger than others for going for going through the whole season builder program, through going like a mentorship experience. You're actually stronger than anyone because everyone thinks, okay, people might think I'm weak. I'm weak because I need help. Are you weak because you need help, or are you strong because you know you want help, but you're seeking for it?
Mhm.
So by you getting help, basically makes you stronger.
Yeah, it's a paradox. I mean, people don't think that way. They have to be exposed to a perspective or be open, right? That's what you were.
Mhm.
You have to be open, and then when you open that door, you find it. You find that actually vulnerability is strength.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's good. I think there's so much potential for your homeland, your home country, to for you to be a leader in that, and maybe even this podcast will start. There may be some friends back home that listen and go, "Man, he's not the same guy that left left
Yes,
Cyprus." Like so. If he has grown like that, maybe that's for me. Maybe.
definitely correct. And I remember it was a week ago or 2 weeks ago, we were discussing about me growing up and maturing, of course. And I told you, hey, Taylor, I used to be the class clown.
Yeah, that's right. I
Now
remember you said
people
it.
look at me back home and they cannot even recognize me because I just changed basically not the way I think, because that have changed too, but also the way I express myself, the way my beliefs are different too. Because when you're just a class clown, you just want to make everyone laugh.
Yeah,
So you really don't care what you believe at.
right.
You care, okay, what am I gonna say right now that people are gonna laugh?
Yeah, right,
Well,
right.
so you're seeking basically attention instead of maturity. So I think now I'm in a stage of my life that I'm just seeking, okay, how do I learn more? How do I
Hmm.
mature more? How do I grow more?
Yeah,
Instead of, okay, what do I do so people can look at me, people can laugh with the things that I say. So I think there is a huge potential. With that being said, I think there's a huge potential in Cyprus
yeah.
to implement that mentorship program, let's say. And I'm really hoping that people can be open to it too. This podcast is going to help them um, understand that, okay, maybe if Simon did it, why not me?
Right, right. Oh, it's not as scary. Like
Yes,
if that's what he turned into, one thing you just said, I think that people need to listen to and really ask this question of themselves: Is it better to be popular or respected? You know,
correct.
is it better to be the class clown or the guy that's admired for what he's doing in his life? We think that the other the first things are that, but really that's not the most important. And I'll connect that back to what we were talking about leadership earlier, right? You said they need to be consistent, they need to be reliable, you need to trust them. Well, which version of you is the more reliable, consistent, trusted one?
Correct. And I would say that back then, when I was in Cyprus and I was obviously the class clown, although all of my classmates, I believe, I hope they like me or they love me.
If you do, please comment.
Yes, please
Put the
comment
comment.
this.
We're gonna need some self affirmation that you still like it.
I think now that I'm holding myself accountable and I can understand that self discipline is was my bigger issue back in the days, but
Yeah.
now that I'm implementing self discipline in my life, just by winning day by day, adding healthy habits in my life, I can understand that this is actually the best version of myself so far.
One more thing, and we'll wrap up. We've been going. This has been great. That I want to point out about you, and that you've developed on your own, maybe some seeds that our mentorship has helped, but you have really taken control. Is when we talked about it, and mom and dad, I know you're going to be listening to this, but it's been a very positive thing. But you had some doubts about what you wanted to do after college and what you were studying. I don't know if this is me, and we had some difficult conversations. And always mom and dad, my own mom and dad, they want what's best for us and what's the security, the safety. Like they have our best interest. The only person that loves us more than they do is God. And so, but we had some conversations about you being interested in some other things.
Yes, graduating high school from back home, my strongest subject was accounting, and I think my parents dive into the thinking of, okay, he's good at accounting, and accountants make a lot of money in Cyprus. Whenever he goes to the U.S., he just needs to get an accounting degree,
Yeah,
and they come back to Cyprus, work, and make some money.
makes sense to me, right?
Yes, so that's how my parents looked at it, and I guess it makes sense for me at the time. It makes sense for me. So when I came here, I started studying accounting, and in my first year, I was like, man, I hate accounting. There's nothing in my persona or in my personality that correlates with accounting. So
Yeah,
I'm like, okay, why am I doing accounting? I've tried accounting, I didn't really like it. Maybe
yeah,
it's time for me to switch.
yeah.
So I watched a movie that was based on Wall Street. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do finance.
Okay.
Because I watched this movie
There we
and
go,
it looked
movies.
very interesting, so I'm just gonna switch to finance. So I switched to finance a year or two later, and then I understand, okay, finance may be even more boring than accounting. So I was like, okay, let me just explore other things then. What do I like? What matches my personality? What do I see Andreas liking doing for the rest of his life
Yeah.
as a career, let's say? And then I understood that I don't really want to do something as a career, but I want to actually help people in a way that I can.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it was about exploring options when it comes to marketing, because I was like, okay, through marketing, which is something that interests me and something that is it's a very hot topic nowadays.
Yeah.
I can actually help businesses. I can help people grow. So that's another way of helping others growing. So I was like, okay, let me just try marketing. So I tried a course of Google. It's an online course of Google. It was a certificate on digital marketing, but it was based on SEOs and how to create websites and all of this stuff, which again I didn't really like. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna try another course.
Yep.
So I tried another course which was based on social media marketing, and that's when I was like, yeah, I kind of like
I
that.
like
I
this.
think I like that. I can relate to that. So I started reading a few books about marketing. If you remember, I told you about a book I've read from Miller,
Donald Miller.
Miller,
Yeah.
Story Brand,
Yep.
which is a beautiful book. I recommend it to everyone that is into marketing.
We'll try to put that in the show notes. So
Yes,
yeah, I'll link to it.
definitely. And reading that book actually helped me understand what really marketing is about. And that's when I understand, okay, that's what I want to do.
Mm.
So as long as you understand what actually you want to do, and to understand what you want to do, you have to try things. It's like trying different foods.
Yes.
I cannot understand what I really like unless I try it. So I tried a few things over there. I didn't really like them: accounting, finance, digital marketing. I didn't really like them, but when I came across social media marketing and then I started reading a few books about it, it just not like falling in love, but it's just like, hey, I want to do this.
Really connected with you.
Yes, I connected with the marketing, I would say, and
Yeah.
now I'm just looking at ways like, how do I understand more of this? How do I become more familiar with this topic of marketing, let's say? Because honestly, marketing is a very fast-paced industry, so you
Yeah.
have to keep up with it too.
Yeah.
So that also helps me as a person to continuously read about it, develop, and keep updated when it comes to marketing.
Yeah, and adapt.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's great. And you not only studied, got interested, but you ended up starting your own social media marketing company.
Yes. So that's something that I just started, and I'm looking to help many more businesses through basically social media management, content creation, and of course, brand strategy. So that's something very exciting. But at the same time, I thought, okay, I'm not gonna get a job. I'm just gonna start my own social media company. It's just gonna be way easier. That's a lie.
Yes, thank you for saying that. That sounds so good.
That's a complete lie. It's just so much more difficult. You have to adapt to situations as you described before. There is no weekends basically. There is no weekdays. There's not a fixed program. Okay, today I work from 9 to 5.
Right.
It's not like that.
No.
Some weeks you have to work 7 out of 7 days. Some weeks you have to work 2 or 3 days. It's a tough industry to hop into right after college.
Yeah.
But knowing myself, I like this challenge, and I think I can learn from this challenge too, even if I have some failures, of course. But I think as of right now, I'm confident that everything is gonna go good, and hopefully, uh, God is gonna help me do good with my social media company as well. So that's something that I'm actually very excited, because as I graduate now from college, obviously I'm gonna have more time to focus on my social media company as well.
Mhm. I think that's so good that you just telling people what the reality is, right? There's so many. Well, I'll just be an influencer. I'll just be a YouTuber. I'll just be, I'll just start my own company and set my own hours. Well, that sounds good, right?
Yes, you
But the
can become
reality of
yes,
that,
you can become whatever you want, but at the end of the day, it's how bad you want it, and you have to understand that whatever you choose to become, there is work that has to be done. Just next day, okay, I'm an influencer. Takes time.
Being an entrepreneur myself, that aligns with me. That's what I love to do. But if you think you're getting into be your own boss and you're going to start your own company so you can set your hours and you can go on vacation anytime you want to and you don't have to work as hard, nobody's telling you what to do, again, lie. That is a lie. Now, is it a great life? Absolutely. It's been the life for me, but it's actually half the pay and double the work. So if you want to go work, if you want even pay for an even day's work, go work for somebody. And I would actually, because I did that. I worked for someone, for a company. Well, I started working when I was 15 years old, so that helped me a lot. I encourage people to get jobs young. But then I went and worked for a corporation for 8 years, and I learned a lot. And I wasn't responsible at the end of the day for everybody, right? They got to be responsible for me, and I'm thankful for that. So I always recommend, even entrepreneurs, go work under someone for a little while, get your feet under you, learn some things, and then set out on your own. Now you can set out on your own like you've done, but there may be a chance where you may go plug back in to maybe another agency or another company,
Correct.
and then relaunch your own
Yes,
stuff.
and I'm very open for it too. For instance, if I get the chance to, let's say, experience working in a marketing company, that would give me honestly a lot of insights so I can implement those in my marketing
Yeah.
agency. So yeah, that's definitely something that I'm open. I'm not just closing doors here and there. But I think it's good if you get the experience of working in a proper company in the field that you probably want to launch a business in the
Right.
future yourself, because that just gives you the insights
Yeah.
and how operations work as well.
Mhm.
So that's very important.
Yeah. Well, this has been a great conversation. I can't wait to re-listen to it myself.
Yes.
Honestly, it's been so good, and honestly, I think I'm most excited about sharing it. I cannot wait to share this conversation. Is there any final remarks you would make, maybe about Season Builder, about yourself, about the person listening out there? What's a final kind of parting comment, encouragement, that you would have for someone listening?
Okay, so I'm just gonna say three things.
Okay.
One of them is seek peace, don't seek happiness.
Yeah.
The other one is if you think that you need help, seek for help. Don't just throw yourself a fake persona basically so you can show the world that you're okay, you're doing okay on your own.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're not doing okay on your own. Sometimes you do need help, and it's okay if you want help. There are people over there just like Season Builder that can help you.
Yeah.
And number three is stop overthinking, man. It's a simple life. Take it day by day. Stay in the positive thinking mindset. Don't let little things affect your day. It's a bad day, not a bad life, basically.
Yes. Yeah. Hey, I really appreciate you guys clicking in, watching us, listening to us on the Coach Ed Show. So hit the subscribe button, set up your notifications so you hear when we drop an episode. And if you've got an idea for someone that you think would be really good to hear from on the Coach Ed Show, hey, drop us some comments. We would love to reach out to them. And if you are interested in Season Builder, and if you're interested in any of the things that we talked about from a mentoring perspective today, then please just drop us a line in the comments. Go to seasonbuilder.org and or even go to coachedge.seasonbuilder.org and download the Coach Edge app. So I hope you guys have a great day, and we'll see you next time.